YouTube and fellow reefers, what is going on? It's Dan with Electric Reef, and it's been about nine and a half months since I released my last video on Electric Reef, a 65 gallon. A lot has changed since then. Obviously you're looking at the upgrade, Electric Reef 2.0. It's been a very humbling, exhausting 9 months, but it's been well worth it. And in the long run, I'm hoping what I can put out content wise is going to be more beneficial to you, the viewer, and more entertaining to you, the viewer. A lot of you guys out there, you might already know what you're doing with your setups. You just like browsing through YouTube and seeing everybody else's setup, what they're doing. That's awesome. Thanks for sticking with me, and you know, this has been a journey. Now what you're looking at is my SCA 150 gallon reef ready Starfire glass aquarium, and I made a few modifications to this system, and this system is kind of unique. It's not unheard of how I set the system up, but it's definitely something you don't see too often in today's hobby. But pretty much what I want to do with this channel is start kicking out videos, making the time for you viewers, the 264 of you that have stuck with me since the beginning. And pretty much I want to showcase what I did with this system and why I did it. There was a lot of valuable learning lessons with the 65 gallon tank. I had a lot of successes with that tank, and I also had a lot of failures with that tank, and I'm hoping it's stuff I can share with you guys, and you'll understand more why I set this tank up the way I did. Forward into 2019, what I'm expecting for this tank, it's going to be mostly SPS, a few LPS that I had, or that I still have lingering around from the 65 gallon. I'd like to incorporate into this tank, just because that tank did come as far as it did. And I'd love to have some of those pieces of coral. Kind of have, a lot of them have sentimental value to me. Whether I picked them up at frag swaps or I got them from friends. You know, there's a lot of people I have to thank for the success that I did have with the 65 gallon. One of the main people being Rico. If you guys don't know Rico's Aquarium, go check out his YouTube channel. It's a wealth of information. He's got his brand new system up and going, and I think that's going to be interesting to watch that tank progress. But I have friends that are in the reefing hobby that came out, helped me move the tank, other friends that helped me tear the 65 gallon down. I got my wife to thank for putting up with all this, because let's be honest, this hobby is not cheap, and I tell her how much everything costs, and she has not questioned me once. And you know, I'm lucky to have somebody that's willing to put up with that. But at the end of the day, it comes down to, I could be doing this and educating myself and doing something for the rest of the world to see, and something that I also consider a leisure and relaxation item. Or I could be going to the bar after work to grab a beer, or there's 100 other things I can list off right now that I could be doing, but instead I'd rather put my time, focus, and money into this. So going forward, we're going to have an SPS dominant reef tank. I'd like to do some product reviews, as I have some very good products that I have incorporated into this system. I have some DIY projects that I'm going to be incorporating into this system, and just the methods that I use to get this tank where I hopefully think this thing's going to end up. Like I said before, SPS dominant reef tank. I mentioned in my last video that I'm going to be shying away from soft corals for the most part. I may put some zoanthids here and there. Definitely gonna add my LPS, like my frog spawns, hammers, stuff like that in here. But mainly this system is going to be focused towards small pulp stony corals. And it's just the bug bit me, the SPS bug bit me, and I just see what amazing tanks there are out there and what you could have in your living room, and that's what I want to accomplish. And not just a 2-year accomplishment. I pretty much set the system up knowing that this was going to be a long journey. I'm looking at the next 10 years with this system, and hopefully after that either upgrade, who knows, I might even decide to go back down to a smaller system. But as of right now, we have a 150-gallon tank here in the den, and as you can see, I'm about a month and a half in, actually a month and 5 days in, and I have pretty much most of my fish stocking done in the tank. And some of you guys might be wondering, how do you have all those fish in there already and the tank's only a month and 5 days old? I'm going to get into that in my next video. I want the next video to pretty much start with the cycling process, my method of cycling, why I was confident it would work, and why it has so far proven to be what I think is a reliable, safe, and responsible method for cycling a tank quickly and efficiently, and being able to put a magnificent foxface, tangs, clowns, wrasses, and my marine beta in the tank when it's only been up and running with fresh water for about a month now. So I know they say don't rush things, and I agree with that in this hobby, but I feel there are also some things that you can slightly speed up just because of where we are technologically in today's society. There's things we can do on our half to speed the process up and do it safely. So that's where we are going with Electric Reef. Now this whole system itself, I'm going to go ahead and throw a couple small facts about the system into this video. The total system water volume as of right now sits at about 320 gallons. And you're probably wondering, well, how can that be if you only have a 150-gallon tank and no sump underneath? Well, I told you guys earlier that I did something a little different with my system, and like I said, it's not unheard of people doing it this way, but it's not something you typically see or a lot of people will do with their system. So with that being said, let's go run down into the basement and I will show you guys exactly what I'm talking about. The sump for the 150-gallon, I have a pretty nice size setup down here in the basement, and like I said, thanking my wife for allowing me to do all this. This is the sump system for Electric Reef. The tank drains out down here, down these pipes, into this 100-gallon Raceway frag tank. That then drains down into this 40-gallon breeder, which I'm going to use as my refugium / biofiltration tank. I have a little bit of rubble rock in there. I want to say about 40 pounds in there. That's all I'm going to put in there. And then I also run my C-Chem Matrix in there. I got my Chaeto in there. And from there, it comes out of bulkhead, drains down into my 75-gallon tank that I've converted into the actual sump. That's housing my return pump. I got sock filters in there for deep cleaning. I have my protein skimmer, and I also house my Miracle Mud in there. I didn't want my Miracle Mud being the biofiltration tank / refugium and running straight into a filter sock and then past the skimmer. I wanted the water in the sump to be able to flow over the Miracle Mud, go straight to the return pump, and then back into the tank. If you look over to the left, this is what is remaining of Electric Reef, the 65-gallon tank. I completely tore that tank apart and transferred everything down here into the basement. Now I'm kind of having to relearn the system. The sand bed in the 65-gallon tank was completely and utterly nasty. And there wasn't really any good way for me to clean that sand bed out to keep nutrients down. So for a while there I was having trouble with nutrients. My corals were staying colored up, they were growing fast, and you'll see here in a minute what I'm talking about growing fast. If you watched my video 9 months ago, most of the corals that were in there either doubled, tripled, or quadrupled in size easily. So everything was doing good, but I was constantly fighting phosphates. Nitrates were at 0. I couldn't get a reading, so I was actually having to dose nitrates. And I'm pretty sure I know the reason behind why that was the case. And I'm going to try something different with this 150-gallon system to kind of try and level that out so I don't have to dose nitrates. I actually naturally have it in the system, and they stay fairly consistent and stable. So let's go check out what's remaining of the 65-gallon. Alright guys, so as you guys can see, I pretty much took all my rock and just placed it inside of the 60-gallon frag tank. And it is a reef ready tank. Some of you have probably seen this tank in somebody else's video, and he wants to talk about it, he can, but I'm taking a lot of equipment off his hands that I can incorporate into this system. So as you can see, no sand bed in here. That's pretty much all the sand and stuff that's washed out and pretty much been taken out of the rock just by the single ice cat pump. But I had an aptasia issue. There's aptasia everywhere on all the rocks. But as you can see, mostly everything I transferred into here is doing good. And my green slimer acro, the growth on that just took off when I wasn't even taking care of the tank. I think I was putting 5 milliliters of aquavitra fuel in a week, and I was just doing a water change every Sunday and just feeding the tank heavily just because of all the fish that were in there. And that thing just took off in growth. I mean, it just exploded. There's a few more SPS here on the rock. Some are doing good. Other ones, they're still there. And I figured out what the problem was. I kind of shocked everything by throwing it all in here and doing away with the sand bed. And I definitely think it shocked a few of the corals. But for the most part, everything transferred over pretty easily. Still using the same sump, but I took my skimmer offline. And as you can see, there's Phyllis the damsel that started the 65-gallon. And I'll get into stocking of the 150-gallon in a later video, why she's down here and why there's another fish in here that came from the 65-gallon. Alright guys, thanks for coming in, checking out the new setup, and look forward to putting out some more content for you. Electric Reef out.